You think your reactions are yours, but someone else trained them quietly. You call it mood, but it is often a lever pulled from outside. If you want calm power, learn what triggers you before it moves you. Power psychology starts where emotional intelligence becomes non-negotiable. The mind does not lose control in big moments first. It loses control in small moments that feel normal. A slight delay in attention, a tiny spike of irritation, a soft pressure to explain yourself. You never notice this, but the first law of influence is not about forcing you. It is about borrowing your nervous system, then making you pay interest in the form of reactions. The hidden manual begins with one principle. Whoever controls your emotional tempo controls your choices. Tempo is the speed of your inner world. It decides how fast you interpret, judge, defend, and surrender. When your tempo is fast, you become predictable. When your tempo is slow, you become hard to read, hard to rush, and hard to steer. Calm is not softness. Calm is a private advantage. The next principle is even quieter. People do not need to change your beliefs to control you. They only need to change your state. A state is a mental weather pattern. Anxious, eager, guilty, angry, excited. Once your state shifts, your values temporarily bend. You call it being human. A skilled influence pattern calls it a window. So the first cluster of laws is not about domination. It is about self-possession. If you cannot hold your state, you cannot hold your boundaries. If you cannot hold your boundaries, you cannot hold your future. This is why emotional intelligence is not only empathy, it is emotional sovereignty. You will learn the pattern that repeats behind many power moves. It has 3 steps: signal, hook, and compliance. The signal is small, almost invisible. The hook is emotional, it creates urgency or shame. Compliance is your reaction, usually rushed, usually unnecessary. You never notice this, but most social control is built from your helpfulness, your politeness, and your fear of being misunderstood. The first law of calm power is simple. Never let another person set your pace. Pace setting is the oldest test. It looks like speed. It feels like pressure. It sounds like quick questions, rapid judgments, and forced choices. When you accept the pace, you accept their frame. A frame is the meaning of what is happening. If their frame wins, your behavior follows. How do you stop it without becoming cold? You slow your tempo internally first. You do not argue with speed. You remove oxygen from it. You breathe lower, slower, and quieter. You let silence do the work. Silence is not a gap. Silence is a boundary that cannot be interrupted. It forces the other side to reveal more. When your tempo slows, your mind can see the signal. The signal often appears as a micro-demand. Explain now, answer now, decide now, react now. The mind hates uncertainty, so it rushes to end it. This is where emotional intelligence becomes tactical. You train yourself to tolerate uncertainty longer than most people. That tolerance becomes authority without any aggression. The second law of calm power is this: never volunteer your inner reasons under pressure. Reasons are easy to attack. The moment you explain, you offer handles. Handles are words that can be pulled to steer you. You say you feel tired, someone labels you weak. You say you want peace, someone calls you afraid. You say you care, someone calls you needy. You never notice this, but explanations often reduce your freedom. Instead of reasons, you use clear decisions. A decision is simple. It does not beg for approval. It does not demand agreement. It stands. You can be respectful while staying unmovable. You use short language, fewer details, and calm repetition. The less material you provide, the less they can twist. The third law is about emotional bait. Bait is any stimulus designed to trigger a predictable response. The most common baits are insult, guilt, and false urgency. Insult bait tries to make you prove yourself. Guilt bait tries to make you rescue their comfort. Urgency bait tries to make you act before thinking. The bait is not the real issue. The bait is a door into your nervous system. The manual reveals a harsh truth. People rarely argue for truth when they feel threatened. They argue for position. Position means who is above and who is below. When position becomes the hidden goal, language becomes a weapon. You will hear certain phrases that are not questions but traps. Why are you so sensitive? Why are you making this complicated? Why can you not just do it? Each phrase carries a command: react now, justify now, submit now. Calm power answers traps with structure, not emotion. Structure means you label the pattern without attacking the person. You focus on the process, not the insult. You can say, I will not respond to that tone. You can say, I will answer when the question is respectful. You can say, I will decide after I think. Each sentence is short, clean, and calm. Each sentence returns control to you. There is a deeper layer. Most manipulation works through identity, not logic. Identity means how you see yourself. Helpful, loyal, strong, smart, kind. Influence patterns target identities because identities defend themselves automatically. You never notice this, but the quickest way to control a good person is to praise their goodness, then demand proof. This is the pattern of moral pressure. It sounds like if you really care, you will do this. If you are truly mature, you will let it go. If you are strong, you will not mind. These are not compliments. They are leashes made of admiration. Emotional intelligence means you can feel the leash before it tightens. The manual offers a counter move. Separate your values from your compliance. You can be kind without being available. You can be mature without tolerating disrespect. You can be strong without absorbing chaos. Values are internal. Compliance is external. When someone tries to merge them, they steal your values to control your actions. Now comes another law that many people ignore. Never accept a frame that makes you rush to be understood. The need to be understood is a hidden weakness. It is natural, but it is exploitable. When you chase understanding, you over-explain. When you over-explain, you lose status. Status here does not mean ego. Status means how much your words are treated as final. A calm mind chooses clarity over persuasion. You do not need everyone to agree. You only need your actions to be consistent. Consistency builds quiet credibility. Credibility is power that does not need volume. There is also a law about attention. Attention is currency. Whoever makes you focus where they want withdraws energy from your priorities. Many people steal attention through drama. Drama is a loop of emotion with no resolution. It keeps you engaged because your brain craves closure. You never notice this, but drama is a harvesting tool. The counter move is to ask one internal question. Does this demand my attention or does it beg for it? Demanding attention means real consequences and clear facts. Begging for attention means vague fear and emotional noise. When you see begging, you step back. You do not feed it with arguments. You do not feed it with long messages. You feed it with boundaries and time. Time is the most powerful non-violent tool in any psychological game. Time gives you distance. Distance gives you perspective. Perspective gives you choice. The manual teaches you to insert time between stimulus and response. That gap is where freedom lives. Most people respond in seconds. You learn to respond in minutes, hours, or days when needed, not as a tactic to punish, but as a practice to think. Now a subtle law appears. Never let your face and voice confess your inner debate. When you show uncertainty too early, someone will push harder. They will sense the soft spot and press it. Emotional intelligence is not hiding feelings. It is choosing when and how feelings are expressed. Timing is protection. This does not mean you become blank. It means you become deliberate. Your tone stays steady. Your face stays neutral. Your words stay simple. This steadiness sends a message without saying it. I am not easily moved. I am not easily rushed. I am not easily owned. But there is one more layer, and it is uncomfortable. People test you to measure your boundaries. Tests are not always conscious. Sometimes they happen automatically. A small disrespect. A little interruption. A tiny joke at your expense. If you accept it, the next test becomes bigger. You never notice this, but boundaries are trained through repetition, not through speeches. The manual gives a practical rule. Correct small things early, calmly, and consistently. Small corrections prevent big conflicts. When you let small disrespect slide, you teach others how to treat you. When you correct it with composure, you teach a new standard. How do you correct without creating enemies? You stay factual, not emotional. You say, do not speak over me. You say that joke is not acceptable. You say we can continue when the tone is respectful. You do not justify. You do not lecture. You do not negotiate your dignity. You simply name the boundary and return to calm. Here is the psychological twist. Many people fear boundaries because they fear rejection. They think boundaries will make them alone, but the truth is sharper. Lack of boundaries does not buy love, it buys access. Access is not intimacy. Access is usage, and usage drains the mind until you cannot recognize yourself. Emotional intelligence means you can feel when your nervous system is being used. Your body signals it. Tight chest, fast thoughts, urge to prove, urge to fix. Those urges feel like morality, but they are often conditioning. You never notice this, but conditioning hides inside your good intentions. So you train a private skill. You label your inner trigger before you answer. You say silently, this is guilt. This is anger. This is urgency. Labeling reduces intensity. Intensity reduction restores choice. Choice restores dignity. Now the manual reveals a dangerous habit. Reactive honesty. It sounds noble, but it is costly. Reactive honesty means you confess feelings while triggered. You reveal fears, insecurities, and private dreams when your state is unstable. Later, you regret it, not because honesty is wrong, but because timing was wrong. Emotional intelligence means you protect your inner world until it is stable. You share from clarity, not from pressure. You open up when you feel safe, not when someone demands vulnerability. Demanded vulnerability is not intimacy. It is extraction. Another law is about agreement. Many people chase harmony to avoid tension, but forced harmony becomes self-betrayal. The calm mind can handle tension without turning it into conflict. Tension is simply two forces existing at once. Your needs and their needs, your limits and their wants. When you can hold tension, you do not collapse into people-pleasing. The manual gives a phrase that protects you. I hear you and my answer stays the same. It acknowledges without surrendering. It reduces escalation without inviting debate. It is calm authority. Now you can sense how these laws connect. Control begins with your pace. It continues through your explanations. It tightens through identity bait. It feeds on your attention. It grows through uncorrected tests. None of it needs shouting. None of it needs threats. It only needs your automatic reactions. This is why the title promise feels forbidden. The forbidden part is not power over others. The forbidden part is power over yourself, because self-control changes your relationships. It changes what you tolerate. It changes what you accept as normal, and not everyone benefits when you become calm. One final reveal for this part. The most effective manipulation is not asking for your obedience. It is making you doubt your perception. Doubt is the doorway to dependence. When you doubt yourself, you look outside for guidance. And whoever offers guidance becomes a silent authority. You will learn to block that next. You will learn how calm minds keep their perception clean, even when someone tries to blur it. But first, ask yourself this. If someone can control your state with one sentence, whose mind are you living in? Law 1, protect your pace before you protect your pride. When your pace is stolen, your thinking becomes short and reactive. Slow pace creates choice, choice creates dignity. Pause before answering, breathe low, keep your voice steady. Speed is often a trap disguised as urgency. Law 2, do not explain yourself under pressure. Pressure makes explanations sound like weakness and invites debate. Decisions need fewer words than excuses. Give a clear no or a clear yes, then stop feeding details. Law 3, separate feelings from commands. Feelings can be real and still not deserve control over you. Notice emotion, name it privately, then act from principle. You never notice this, but emotion becomes a leash when it becomes a rule. Law 4, refuse false urgency. False urgency compresses your judgment and creates regret. Require time when stakes are real. Time is a boundary that cannot be grabbed. Law 5, do not chase being understood in hostile moments. The need to be understood pushes you to over-explain. Over-explaining creates handles for others to pull. Clarity is enough. Agreement is optional. Law 6, ask for specifics when accusations appear. Vague claims create fog, fog creates doubt, doubt creates dependence. Specifics force accountability and reduce distortion. If specifics are refused, disengage calmly. Law 7, never argue inside a distorted frame. A distorted frame makes you lose even when you are correct. Step outside the frame and restate observable facts. Keep your language clean and short. Law 8, treat denial, minimization, and reversal as one pattern. These moves aim to change your perception, not solve a problem. Do not debate their feelings about facts. Name your boundary and move forward. Law 9, anchor memory quickly after pressure. Stress edits recall and makes you question yourself. Write a simple summary of facts and decisions. This protects your future clarity from today's confusion. Law 10, do not confuse intensity with truth. Loud certainty and strong emotion can be performance. Return to facts, patterns, and costs. Intensity often tries to bypass thinking. You trust your memory, but it can be edited without you noticing. You think you are choosing freely, but doubt can steer you silently. If you want calm control, protect perception before you protect pride. The next set of hidden laws is about perception defense. Perception is not just what you see. Perception is what your mind decides is real. Once someone can bend that, they do not need to bend you directly. You will cooperate with the version of reality they install. The quiet method is always the same. Create confusion, then offer relief. Confusion makes the brain search for certainty. Relief makes the brain accept the nearest explanation. You never notice this, but many social games are not fought with facts. They are fought with mental fatigue. The first law here is simple and ruthless. Never argue inside someone else's distortion. Distortion is a frame where your words cannot win. If you try to win there, you confirm their frame. You become trapped in defending details while the main lie stays untouched. Distortion often uses three tools: denial, minimization, and reversal. Denial says it never happened. Minimization says it happened, but it was nothing. Reversal says you caused it by reacting. These tools are not about truth. They are about making you question yourself. The emotional intelligence move is not louder proof. It is cleaner structure. You use a short description of observable facts. You use calm language. You do not decorate it with anger. Anger gives them a distraction. You never notice this, but a reactive tone can be used as evidence against you. So you say what happened, what you will do, and what you will not accept. You stay inside what you can verify. You do not chase their approval. Approval is the reward that keeps the distortion alive. The second law is about memory. Memory is not a recording. Memory is a reconstruction. Under stress, reconstruction becomes unstable. This is why confusion works. It forces you to rebuild the event while being pressured. That pressure changes the rebuild. The manual teaches a protection habit. Anchor your memory quickly, privately, and simply. After a tense interaction, you summarize the facts in a few lines. You write what was said, what was agreed, and what you decided, not as a weapon, as a mirror. You never notice this, but your future self needs evidence when your present self is shaken. This is not paranoia. It is mental hygiene. Calm power includes accurate recall. Accurate recall protects your boundaries from slow erosion. The third law is about the word misunderstood. Misunderstood can be real, but it is also useful. It often hides a demand: drop your point and comfort me. When someone says you misunderstood, your brain rushes to fix it. That rush pulls you into their pace again. The counter is to separate meaning from accountability. You can say, explain your meaning, and the impact still matters. Impact is what occurred. Meaning is what they claim. Both can be discussed, but impact is not erased by meaning. You never notice this, but many people use intention as a sponge to absorb consequences. Another law follows: do not accept false complexity. False complexity is when simple disrespect is wrapped in long explanations. The purpose is to tire you. Tired minds compromise. Tired minds surrender details. Tired minds settle for partial apologies that change nothing. Calm power uses a filter. What is the specific behavior and what will change next time? If the answer is vague, the repair is fake. Vague language is often a cover for repeated patterns. The manual now reveals a major trigger: the need for closure. Closure is a craving. Your mind wants the discomfort to end. Manipulators do not need to defeat you. They only need to keep the discomfort open until you trade truth for peace. So you practice delayed closure. You allow unfinished tension to exist. You do not rush to resolve everything. You let some questions stay unanswered. Unanswered questions can be a shield. You never notice this, but sometimes the safest answer is not an answer. This leads to the next law: never chase someone who is committed to being unclear. Clarity is a choice. If someone avoids it, they benefit from it. Unclear people can deny, shift, and escape. Clear people can be held accountable, so an unclear person has a silent advantage. How do you respond without getting trapped? You set a clarity requirement. You say, I will respond when the claim is specific. You say, I will discuss this when you can define what you want. You stay calm. You do not accept vague accusations. Vague accusations are nets. The more you struggle, the more you get tangled. Another law is about emotional hooks that hijack perception. The most dangerous hook is moral panic. Moral panic makes you fear being seen as bad. Once you fear that, you become easy to steer. You will overcorrect. You will apologize for things you did not do. You will accept blame just to restore your image. Emotional intelligence means you can tolerate being misread temporarily. You never notice this, but the fear of being misread is a leash. If you can live with misreading for a while, you become harder to control. This does not mean you accept unfair labels forever. It means you do not fight labels with panic. You fight labels with consistency. Consistent behavior over time breaks false labels. Panic behavior strengthens them. The manual adds a quiet rule. Never argue with a person who is performing for an audience. Performance changes incentives. When someone is performing, they want status, not resolution. If you argue there, you become their fuel. You give them energy, attention, and drama. Calm power moves the conversation away from performance conditions. You reduce the audience effect by refusing to debate in heated moments. You say, we can talk later, privately and calmly. You never notice this, but timing can be a boundary as strong as any word. Now the deepest layer appears, perception contamination. Contamination happens when someone mixes truth with distortion. A small truth makes the distortion feel credible. Your brain accepts the blend. This is why half-truths are so effective. They pass your internal fact-checker. The counter is separation. You identify what is true and what is added. You agree with the true piece without swallowing the rest. You say, yes, that part is accurate. Then you say, and this part is not. You keep it clean. You never notice this, but agreeing strategically can disarm a trap. Another law is about emotional accounting. Many people keep invisible scorecards. They use past favors to claim future compliance. You helped me before, so you owe me now. This turns kindness into debt. Debt creates guilt. Guilt creates control. Emotional intelligence sees the pattern early. You do not let favors become chains. You say, I appreciate what you did, and I am not available for this. Gratitude without compliance is a powerful stance. It blocks guilt without creating hostility. The manual now explains a manipulation pattern that looks like empathy. It is forced vulnerability. Someone reveals pain, then demands your surrender. Pain can be real, but the demand is the problem. If their pain is used to override your boundaries, your empathy becomes a weapon against you. Calm power holds two truths at once. Their feelings can be valid and your boundary can remain firm. You never notice this, but the ability to hold two truths is emotional maturity, and it creates quiet authority. There is also a law about questions. Not all questions seek understanding. Some questions are interrogations designed to extract your weak points. They ask about fears, insecurities, and past mistakes. Then they store it. Later it returns as a threat, a joke, or a pressure point. The manual gives a rule. Answer the question behind the question, not the question itself. If the question seeks control, you give less. You respond with general statements. You redirect to your decision. You never notice this, but privacy is not secrecy. Privacy is self-respect. The next law is about apology traps. An apology trap forces you to admit guilt just to end tension. Once you apologize, the frame is set. You become the wrong one. Now they can demand repair, punishment, or obedience. Emotional intelligence uses precise language. You can apologize for impact without confessing false intent. You can say, I am sorry this hurt you. You can say, I regret my tone. You can say, I will handle it differently next time. You do not say, you are right, I am terrible unless it is true. You never notice this, but accuracy is a form of self-protection. Now comes a major perception skill. You learn to test claims without aggression. You ask for specifics. What exactly did I say? When exactly did it happen? What outcome do you want? Specificity kills distortion. Distortion needs fog to survive. When they refuse specifics, you do not fill the fog with your imagination. Imagination is where anxiety grows. Anxiety is where control enters. Instead, you pause. You repeat the request calmly. You let the silence pressure them, not you. The manual reveals why this works. Many influence games rely on you doing the work. You interpret their hints. You solve their moods. You guess their needs. You chase their approval. That labor makes you invested. Invested people stay longer even when treated poorly. Calm power stops volunteering labor. You require directness. You require respect. You require clarity, and you do it without hostility. Hostility creates war. Clarity creates order. One more law appears, and it is subtle. Do not confuse intensity with truth. Intense emotion can be real, but it can also be strategy. Loud certainty can be performance. Tears can be sincere, or they can be pressure. You never notice this, but intensity often tries to bypass your thinking. So you use a private checkpoint. What are the facts? What is the pattern? What is the cost if I comply? What is the cost if I refuse? When you ask these quietly, you become harder to rush. Now the twist that changes everything. Perception is not only defended by logic, it is defended by identity. If you see yourself as someone who must always be nice, you will accept fog and guilt. If you see yourself as someone who must always be strong, you will accept provocation and ego traps. So the manual gives the real upgrade. Replace fragile identity with stable principles. Principles are chosen rules you follow even under stress. You do not need to be seen as nice. You choose to be respectful. You do not need to be seen as strong. You choose to be calm. You never notice this, but principles do not need applause, and that makes them powerful. And now you are ready for the next layer. Once your perception is protected, the next battlefield is emotional provocation. Provocation is the art of making you break character so they can blame you. If they cannot bend your reality, they will try to trigger your temper. So answer this before moving forward. If someone cannot control your mind with doubt, will they try to control it with anger? Law 11, do not reward unclear communication. Unclear language protects the one who uses it. Require clear requests and clear outcomes. If clarity is avoided, stop investing attention. Law 12, treat attention as currency. Drama is designed to harvest your focus without resolution. If a loop repeats, withdraw energy. Calm power uses selective attention, not constant engagement. Law 13, correct small disrespect early and calmly. Small tolerances train bigger violations later. Boundaries are trained through repetition, not speeches. Correct without anger, then continue without discussion. Law 14, do not accept contempt as feedback. Contempt is a dominance tool that triggers shame or anger. You can accept critique without accepting disrespect. Say you are open to feedback, not contempt. Law 15, refuse bait that targets identity. Identity bait sounds like if you are strong, prove it. If you are kind, comply. Values are internal, compliance is external, keep them separate. Law 16, stop proving yourself to people who do not listen. Proving is endless and drains your dignity. A calm no ends the performance. You never notice this, but some people want your effort, not your truth. Law 17, do not defend against endless accusations. Endless accusations keep you in defense mode and steal your position. Ask for a clear claim and a clear request. If none appears, exit politely. Law 18, end arguments with decisions, not with last words. The last word trap keeps you replying and investing. State your decision, state your boundary, then stop. Stopping is not weakness, it is control. Law 19, lower your voice to lower the temperature. Your voice is a steering wheel for your nervous system. Softer and slower signals stability. Stability exposes chaotic tactics. Law 20, disengage when someone performs for status. Performance seeks applause, not resolution. Move discussion to calm conditions or do not engage. Timing is a boundary that protects your reputation. You think anger proves strength, but it often proves access to you. You think you are defending yourself, but you may be revealing control points. If you want untouchable calm, learn the science of provocation. Provocation is a psychological tool that targets your impulse system. It is not only insults. It is also sarcasm, dismissive tone, selective listening, and strategic misunderstanding. The goal is simple: make you react, then use your reaction as the evidence. You never notice this, but many people do not win by being right. They win by making you look unstable. The hidden manual treats provocation as a sequence. First, they poke your identity. Then they block your resolution. Then they offer a false exit that costs your dignity. When you take the exit, you feel relief, but you lose position. Position here means your ability to set terms for how you are treated. Emotional intelligence begins with one harsh rule. Never negotiate your self-respect while you are activated. Activated means your body is preparing for threat. Your heart rate rises, your breathing shortens, your thoughts narrow. In that state, you do not think in options, you think in attacks and defenses. That is exactly what provocation wants. So the first law of provocation defense is to notice activation early. Early signals are subtle. Jaw tension, faster speech, urge to interrupt, urge to prove. You never notice this, but the urge to prove is one of the biggest doors into manipulation. Proving behavior makes you chase their approval, even while you claim you do not care. The manual gives you a private protocol. Pause, breathe low, and lower your voice. Lowering your voice forces your nervous system to slow. It also changes the dynamic without argument. People expect escalation. When you de-escalate calmly, they lose the script. The next law is about insulting frames. An insult is rarely about truth. It is a test for control. If you react strongly, they learn which button to press. If you react weakly, they learn you will tolerate disrespect. Either way, the insult is data collection. So you treat insults like probes. You do not chase them. You name the boundary and move on. You say, "Do not speak to me like that." You say that is not acceptable. You do not add emotion. You do not add explanations. Explanations create debate. Debate creates exposure. You never notice this, but debate can be a trap when the goal is not resolution. Now comes a deeper law. Do not defend against accusations that are designed to be endless. Endless accusations are vague, emotional, and shifting. When you answer one, another appears. The real purpose is not clarity. The purpose is to keep you in defense mode. Defense mode changes your posture. You become the one seeking permission. You become the one asking for forgiveness. This is why calm power uses a different stance. You ask for specifics. You ask for outcomes, and if none are given, you disengage politely. Disengagement is not avoidance. Disengagement is choosing not to feed a pattern. You never notice this, but attention is fuel. Provocation burns attention to create heat. When you remove attention, the heat collapses. The manual now exposes a common provocation pattern, the last word trap. The last word trap pushes you to respond again and again. It uses small jabs at the end, little edits, little distortions. Your brain wants to correct the record. So you reply, and reply, and reply. Each reply increases your investment and reduces your calm. The counter is to end on a decision, not on an argument. You say, "I have shared my position." You say, "I will not continue this conversation in this tone." You say, "We can revisit later with respect." Then you stop. Stopping is power. You never notice this, but closure can be created by your choice, not their agreement. Another law is about emotional mirroring. People often mirror your intensity. If you rise, they rise. If you calm, they either calm or they become exposed. Exposure means their strategy becomes visible. Calm is a light. It reveals who was relying on chaos. This is why the manual teaches non-reactive presence. Presence is how you occupy space with your nervous system, not with your words. Your posture is stable. Your breathing is slow. Your eye contact is steady but not aggressive. You listen without rushing. You never notice this, but a calm presence makes many provocations feel childish. Now comes the most effective provocation tool, contempt. Contempt is the emotion of looking down. It can be delivered through tone, facial expressions, or dismissive jokes. Contempt is designed to trigger shame. Shame makes you either collapse or attack. Emotional intelligence recognizes shame as a signal, not a command. You feel it, you label it, and you keep your behavior aligned with your principles. You do not beg to be respected. You require respect by how you respond. The manual offers a clean sentence. I am open to feedback, not to contempt. This sentence does not insult. It sets a standard. It also forces the other side to choose, speak respectfully, or reveal the intention. Another law is about baited questions. Baited questions are not seeking information. They are seeking a reaction. They ask, are you always this difficult? Are you trying to start a fight? Do you think you are better than others? Each question contains an accusation. The counter is to answer the accusation, not the words. You say, I am not here to fight. You say, I am here to be clear. You say, I am not interested in comparing status. Then you return to facts. You never notice this, but returning to facts is a form of emotional leadership. Now the manual moves into a high-level skill, refusal without hostility. Many people refuse with anger because anger feels protective. But anger gives the other side a story. You are emotional, you are unstable, you are the problem. Refusal with calm is different. It is short, neutral, and final. No, that does not work for me. No, I am not available. No, I will not accept that. You do not add apologies that weaken the refusal. You do not add justifications that invite negotiation. You never notice this, but a clean no is one of the rarest forms of self-respect. There is also the pattern of forced speed. Speed is a provocation because it compresses your thinking. Decide now, answer now, agree now. Under speed, you choose relief over wisdom. The counter is to normalize time. You say, I will think about it. You say, I will reply later. You say, I will decide tomorrow. Time is not only practical. Time is psychological. It shows you cannot be pushed by their urgency. Now comes a subtle test. Some people punish calm. They call it cold. They call it arrogant. They call it uncaring. This is another provocation. It tries to make you abandon calm and return to emotional display. Emotional display is easier to control. Emotional intelligence holds calm anyway. You can add warmth without losing structure. You can say, I respect you and my boundary remains. You can say, I hear you and I will not change my decision. Warmth plus firmness is difficult to attack. You never notice this, but many people can handle kindness, but they cannot handle kindness with limits. The manual also reveals the trap of counterattack. When provoked, the mind wants revenge. Revenge feels like restoring balance, but revenge often creates escalation and regret. Escalation creates new vulnerabilities. Calm power prefers strategic distance. Distance is not weakness. Distance is preserving your future options. You step back, you gather information, you avoid impulsive commitments. You never notice this, but impulsive commitments are one of the fastest ways to lose control of your life. Another law is about correction. When someone misquotes you or twists your meaning, you may want to correct every detail. Detail correction can become a trap because it keeps you engaged. The manual teaches selective correction. You correct only what affects decisions and boundaries. You can say that is not accurate and my decision stays. You can say you can interpret it how you want and I will still do this. This is not careless. It is focused. Focus is power because it reduces the surface area they can attack. Now comes a more advanced pattern, provocation through kindness. It sounds impossible, but it is common. Someone smiles, uses soft words, and quietly undermines you. The friendliness makes you drop defenses. The undermining makes you feel confused. Confusion makes you doubt your perception. The counter is to trust patterns, not performances. Performance is what is shown. Pattern is what repeats. If the pattern is disrespect, you respond to the pattern, even if the performance is sweet. You never notice this, but sweetness can be a camouflage for control. The manual gives another principle. Do not argue about emotions, argue about agreements. Emotions are subjective and endless. Agreements are specific. What was promised? What was decided? What will happen next? When you anchor to agreements, you reduce manipulation space. Now the manual turns inward. The strongest provocation is often internal. It is the voice that says, you must win, you must be right, you must not look weak. That voice is not always yours. It can be social conditioning. It can be past experiences. It can be pride pretending to be self-respect. Emotional intelligence means you can let people be wrong about you temporarily. You can let unfairness exist without absorbing it. You never notice this, but the ability to tolerate unfairness without becoming unfair is rare power. So you train a quiet replacement. Instead of winning, you choose alignment. Alignment means your behavior matches your principles. Principles do not change because someone is immature. When you choose alignment, you do not need to dominate. You simply do not abandon yourself. Another law appears: escalation is optional. Many people believe escalation is unavoidable, but escalation is a choice disguised as a reflex. The manual teaches you to see the fork. At the fork, you can escalate or you can set a boundary and exit. Exiting is not defeat. Exiting is refusing a bad game. Now the twist. Some people will increase provocation when it stops working. They become louder, harsher, more dramatic. This is a sign you are taking away their control. If you mistake it for proof you should surrender, you lose the progress you built. So you stay steady. You repeat the boundary. You reduce exposure. You do not explain more. You do not argue more. You do not defend more. You never notice this, but repetition is not weakness. Repetition is a wall. And now you are ready for the next and most strategic layer. Once you can resist provocation, you can shape outcomes without force. You can influence without begging. You can lead without performance. But there is a hidden risk. When you become calm, people will try a different strategy. They will test your compassion. So answer this carefully. When someone cannot trigger your anger, will they try to exploit your empathy instead? Law 21. Do not let kindness become access on demand. Compassion without limits becomes a public service. Choose what you give and for how long. Being kind is not the same as being available. Law 22. Separate pain from permission. Someone can be hurting and still not deserve control over you. Validate feelings without surrendering boundaries. This is mature empathy. Law 23. Support effort, not avoidance. Help should strengthen responsibility, not replace it. If no steps are taken, reduce your investment. Rescuing can train dependency. Law 24. Treat guilt language as a control attempt. Guilt tries to convert your values into obedience. Respond with empathy and firmness. Do not prove your goodness, keep your decision. Law 25. Do not trade truth for peace under pressure. Your mind craves closure, so it compromises. Tolerate unfinished tension when clarity is missing. Peace that costs self-respect becomes future chaos. Law 26. Do not let labels write your behavior. Being called cold, selfish, or arrogant can be a provocation. Keep your tone respectful and your boundary firm. Consistency defeats false labels. Law 27. Protect privacy without becoming secretive. Not every question deserves a full answer. Answer the intention behind the question, not the extraction. Privacy is self-respect, not deception. Law 28. Apologize with precision. Do not confess false guilt to end discomfort. You can regret impact or tone without accepting lies. Accuracy is protection. Law 29. Agree with truth without swallowing the distortion. Half-truths are used to smuggle control. Separate what is valid from what is added. Selective agreement disarms many traps. Law 30. Do not let favors become debts. Gratitude does not create lifelong compliance. If a favor becomes a weapon, the relationship is transactional. Accept gratitude, reject obligation. You call it empathy, but it can be turned into a leash. You think you are helping, but you may be training dependency. If you want clean power, learn compassion with boundaries. Empathy is a strength, but unguarded empathy becomes a control channel. The hidden manual ends with a final principle. The calm mind stays kind without becoming available on command. This is not domination. This is emotional intelligence that cannot be exploited. The first law is to separate pain from permission. Someone can be hurting, and you can still refuse. If pain automatically earns access to you, your life becomes a public resource. You never notice this, but some people collect sympathy the way others collect leverage. The pattern has 3 steps. They share distress, they imply you caused it, then they demand repair. Repair might be attention, time, agreement, or silence. The demand is often unspoken, which makes it harder to reject. Unspoken demands create guilt because there is no clear line to refuse. The counter is clarity. You name what you can do and what you will not do. You say, I can listen for 10 minutes. You say, I cannot take responsibility for that choice. You say, I can support you and I will not be pressured. Short sentences keep you safe. The second law is about rescuing. Rescuing feels noble, but it often removes accountability. When you rescue repeatedly, you train helplessness. Helplessness then becomes a habit, and you become the caretaker of consequences you did not create. You never notice this, but constant rescuing quietly teaches others to avoid growth. The manual gives a clean rule. Support effort, not avoidance. If someone is taking steps, your help strengthens them. If someone is avoiding steps, your help weakens them. You can offer resources, options, and encouragement. You do not offer your nervous system as a permanent shelter. The third law is about guilt language. Guilt language sounds like, after all I did for you. If you cared, you would. You are abandoning me. Guilt language tries to convert your values into compliance. It makes refusal feel immoral. Emotional intelligence answers guilt with steadiness. You say, I understand you feel disappointed. You say, I am still not available. You do not argue about your goodness. You do not prove your loyalty. Proving is the trap because proof never ends. The fourth law is to notice emotional overdrafts. An overdraft is when someone takes more emotional energy than they return. Every relationship has imbalance sometimes. The warning sign is repetition without repair. You keep giving, they keep taking, and nothing improves. The manual teaches one private check. After contact, do you feel clearer or foggier? Clearer means healthy influence. Foggier means contamination. Fog is created by mixed messages, shifting standards, and hidden punishments. The fifth law is about hidden punishment. Some people punish boundaries with coldness, silence, sarcasm, or victim behavior. The goal is to make you fear the cost of refusal. You never notice this, but punishment is often softer than threats and more effective. The counter is to treat punishment as information. It shows the relationship was powered by access, not respect. You do not chase warmth. You do not bargain for normalcy. You keep your boundary and you reduce emotional exposure. The sixth law is about giving your calm away. Calm is your asset. Do not donate it to chaos. Some people bring problems but refuse solutions. They want company in their spiral, not change. If you join the spiral, you lose your center. You can say, I care about you. You can say, I will talk when you want solutions. This protects both sides. It keeps you kind and it keeps you out of the loop. The seventh law is to choose principles over moods. Moods are contagious. If you let another mood set your standard, you become reactive again. Principles stay stable. Respectful tone, clear requests, honest accountability, and consistent boundaries. The manual ends with the final law of power psychology, self-trust. Self-trust is not arrogance. It is the ability to believe your perception, to hold your pace, and to keep your standards under pressure. When you have self-trust, manipulation has nothing to attach to. Now the last twist. Once you stop being controllable, some people will call you selfish. They will say you changed. They will miss the old version that was easier to move. So ask yourself this. If your calm makes someone uncomfortable, is it because you became worse or because you became free? Law 31. Watch for hidden punishment after boundaries. Coldness, silence, and sarcasm are pressure tools. Do not chase warmth to restore comfort. Treat punishment as information and reduce exposure. Law 32. Do not let confusion force vulnerability. Demanded vulnerability is extraction, not intimacy. Share only when you are stable and safe. Timing matters more than openness. Law 33. Train your perception with simple checkpoints. Ask what happened, what repeats, what it costs, what changes next. These questions cut through fog. Fog is where control grows. Law 34. Do not negotiate dignity with unstable emotion. Activated states create bad agreements and future regret. Pause when triggered and return later. Calm timing protects long-term outcomes. Law 35. Choose principles over identity roles. Roles like always nice or always strong are easy to exploit. Principles stay stable under stress. Respect, clarity, and consistency create real power. Law 36. Reduce surface area when attacked. The more you share, the more can be twisted. Use fewer words, fewer reasons, and fewer promises. Minimal exposure is maximum control. Law 37. Use repetition as a wall. Repeat the same boundary with the same calm tone. Do not add new material for them to grab. Repetition signals finality without aggression. Law 38. Build self-trust as your final defense. Self-trust keeps your perception clean and your pace steady. Without self-trust, you outsource reality to louder voices. With self-trust, manipulation has nothing to hold. You now have the full manual in plain sight, but one question remains. If these laws protect your calm, who benefits when you ignore them?